Hey, this is Jaime Resendiz with Echo Real Estate Advisors. I wanted to shoot a brief video about this software called Remine. Now, I was introduced to Remine several months ago, and I've been using it for direct mail marketing. Traditionally, I had been a bit, I guess, not as excited about mail marketing because I saw it as very time intensive, very costly, and just not a very good return on investment opportunity. So that's where you see most of my content, 99% of my content, be directed towards online marketing, specifically Facebook advertising and Google advertising, so much so that I have a course on both. But having gone through Remine and having used it in the past several months personally, even in the most simplistic way, it has helped me out tremendously. And the reason I say simplistic, not because the software is simplistic, because it's not. It's more, I was really not using it to its full capabilities up until recently. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, the home screen that you're seeing here is my association, so Metro-Tech's Association of Realtors that's here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm a member of Metro-Tech, and they provide softwares, applications, and different services for being a member. And they recently added Remine. And so Remine is free to me. This is something that they have included in their membership, so I don't have to pay anything additional for it. So when I'm saying free to me in this video, keep that in mind that I'm getting it through the association. If your association has it, then you can certainly make use of it. If you don't, you may need to either engage the association or get it directly. But you can certainly be using a quote-unquote free version or level up and get different packages. I'm not as familiar with the packages per se, but I do have the Pro version, so some of the functionalities that you're going to see here, you may not see them if you have your free version or the standard version. And I know enough to know some of the differences, and I'll try to call them out where I can, but don't hate on me if I don't get them exactly right. Now, this is the home screen, and I've already typed in a zip code that I farm, which for you that are familiar with DFW, so Dallas-Fort Worth area, you know the city of Coppell and the desire for a lot of people to be in this zip code and in this town. Now, if I can take control of the mouse, let's see if I can zoom in. A little bit more. I want to show you. Here we go. Now you see every single building, every single lot has a dot. Now the dot shows different characteristics. It has different attributes depending on the filters that you add. On the left hand side, you're going to see your navigation tab. This is your tracked properties. I do know that depending on the package that you have through Remine is dependent on how many tracked properties you can track. I may have said that. I may have reversed that. So depending on the package is the number of properties that you can track. The starter package has about 100 properties that are trackable. With the Pro version, which is the one that you're seeing right now, I think the limit's like 10,000 properties that I can track. So depending on how big the farm is that you're farming, or the area that you're farming, that may dictate how many properties you want to track. And you'll see the benefit of tracking here in a few minutes. The MLS status, if you put the filter of the MLS status, it'll tell you which of these properties is coming is active, coming soon, pending, closed, expired. Not very valuable to you from an MLS standpoint, considering that you have the MLS, but you'll see its power here in a bit. You have an Airbnb tab, which in all honesty I'm not too certain what that does, but what's more important for me as a realtor as I am farming my area is the last sales price. So I can exclude properties that are either too low or too high, dependent on the types of properties that I'm after. I can put the sales price in here and filter them accordingly. I don't use that too much. What I'm more interested is on the mortgage rate. The mortgage rate, it gives a good range of, and a pretty spot on reflection on the interest that some of these property owners are paying. Now you can see here, if I only want to filter out properties that have above a 6% interest rate, in this market, these properties would be super valuable to know for your lender partner or for you. If you can get that, if you can send them a letter, a personalized letter with your business card and a message that's catered towards a mortgage rate. Of course, you don't want to be super invasive, but you certainly want to give a customized letter, a customized message to those certain properties, letting them know that there's more competitive rates out there before they go back up to the 6+ that they're presently paying. So for them, it could be advantageous to refinance. I know that's a little bit more for your lender partner, so feel free to do co-marketing pieces with your lender partner. That's something that's going to work tremendously well. That, and you split the cost. And or if they're ready to move out and sell their home, you're going to look pretty good if you're the first one there, considering that you did provide a service, and letting them know that there's better rates out there if they weren't aware already. Now you see the ownership time as well. This is another feature that I use heavily. I want to see how long they have been in this home. Depending on your geography, depending on the stats of your particular farming area, some areas the homeowners tend to stay longer in their home. So based on that average, you can select where you want to be. Now, if you type in 10 to 15 years, or if you click on that, it's only going to give you 10 to 15 years. So if you're interested in doing a minimum of 10 years plus, then you're better off going here and just applying a minimum, as that'll capture everything above 10 years instead of just giving you a range, a range. Now that's something that is important to know. You also see the mortgage age. What I really like about the mortgage age is that you can identify people that have no mortgage. In other words, you see the properties that are paid outright. So the only expense that they have from that standpoint is the property taxes and the maintenance. So that's very important, as those are checks that they continue to have to cut. And if it's an older couple per se, or older folks that are wanting to downsize, that's a great opportunity, as they may not be wanting to pay the property taxes on a home that's a little bit larger than what they're needing. So there's different stories that you can craft behind it, but depending on your strategy, know that you can pinpoint exact properties and where they stand. Now again, I am more focused on the mail marketing capabilities of this. Know that this works great and even better with door knocking, as you get to have that type of a conversation with the homeowners. Of course, you're not going to go door knock and say, "Hey, I know that you have no mortgage on this property." No, you certainly want to be a bit more organic with it and not be a kind of like a big brother type. However, this is going to save you a lot of miles. This is going to save you a lot of time in getting in front of the right people, so you don't have to be guessing and really just being deflated more than anything. This is going to increase your productivity incredibly. You're going to have more meaningful conversation, and you do have insider information that the homeowner may not necessarily be aware that you even have access to. So this is pretty awesome. Property value, again, you get to filter it to the range homes that you want to be selling at. Home equity, you get to see who has a little bit more home equity, so they would be more apt to sell. Again, you're going off of averages, and it does help considerably that you have this information instead of mailing 2,000 people and hoping that you get at least a 1% return on your investment, because you do talk about printing the letter, or if it's a postcard, you are talking about printing the postcard or paying somebody to do it, sending it out. That's a premium. Paying for the postage in and of itself, and most of the time paying for the list. So all of that adds up. And for the return on investment, sometimes it becomes a little bit difficult to stomach and pay out hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, several times throughout the year. Because if you're doing mail marketing or direct marketing at a high level, you certainly want to have at least 4 touches per year in order to start seeing a return on investment. Unless you have the most or the best crafted card out there that gets a significant return, which I haven't seen one of those yet. Now, the thing that is incredible to me is the sell score. The sell score is, the best way that can be explained is an algorithm, and pretty much that's as far as I want to get to it. I do know that there's like an insane amount of data points that they use, like 800 or so. If I'm misquoting that, I'm sorry, but they clearly know what they're doing, and they don't just take these up here. They don't just take these into consideration. They take a lot of other data points, from my understanding, in order to come up with a low, medium, or a high sell score. A high sell score means that they're likely or more likely to sell or consider selling in the next 12 months. A medium, I believe, is like I want to say like 24 months. I'm trying to remember what. Let me see if I have that information. Yeah, medium sell score is indicative of the homeowner or the property is likely to sell in 24 months or within 24 months. And doing a low sell score essentially means they're likely to sell 25 months plus. So, of course, with everything, these are statistics that are being pulled together, and there's an algorithm behind this that I couldn't even begin to explain. However, I can share from personal testimony that as far as return on investment, I have already received it with the leads that I'm cultivating right now and the type of farming that I have done. So take that with a grain of salt. I just want to introduce you more than anything to the system or the software, which is pretty amazing. And a lot of people already have it in their MLS and aren't using it, not because they don't think that this is wicked cool, because they don't know they have it. So thankfully, I attended a CE course that very casually mentioned it in their introduction, and I forget what CE it was. I think it was like Principles of the MLS, but they mentioned it and they kept on to how to use the MLS, and that stuck with me. I wrote it down and started following up on it, and sure enough, it's pretty incredible. Land use is the next tab here, and you see you can filter it by residential, commercial, and all types of land use. Building type, if you're solely going after single family, you can exclude everybody else. Or if you're only going after condos, if that's where you want to be, or townhomes or multifamily, if that's where that's where you thrive the most, then you can certainly do that and target the properties that are more likely to sell. Flood zone, very important. You can craft your message around that, and or the more than anything, just customize your message. You don't want, with this type of flexibility, this type of information at your fingertips, you're doing yourself a disservice by sending a canned response to the masses. You have the tools in front of you. Now, I am not certain. I think that some of these do come with the Pro package only. You may need to purchase the Pro package versus the standard package that is already included with your membership, or the standard package that you purchase independently. So I'm for sure that this property value is only in the Pro or in a paid version of some sorts, and home equity as well. I want to say that building type is also in the Pro. Let's see. Again, I'm doing this off of memory. This second to last tab is pretty cool as well. This is more for your investor type. You get to see which home is owner occupied. Now this is a pretty cool strategy where you can identify the properties that are absentee. So essentially it's more of an investment home, and you can identify which properties have in-state and which properties have out-of-state owners, and you can craft your message accordingly. And you can get a twofer on this one. If you know a property is absentee owned, meaning it's more of an investor property or somebody is renting out of that property, then you can send a very carefully crafted message to the actual property address and get a buyer. Hey, are you tired of renting? Were you aware that a home in this very community is where it costs, like, let's say 3% down to get into, and the average sales price is $300,000. Just give you an example. That would be a very powerful letter to receive, especially if you know that this, as an example, let's see if we can click here. If we know that this property is being rented, we know that the owner is right here, so that is, what is that, an out-of-stater? Yep, so that's an absentee out-of-stater. So while you send to that property, while you send them more of a buyer type of a message, you send the actual owner, which you get that information of their address as well. You send them more of a, hey, is it time to cash out on your investment type of a message. So you get a twofer on that, and that's pretty phenomenal. So what I would do here is I would just track this home. Now it goes back into the level that you purchased into for Remine. So again, I have the Pro level, so I don't necessarily ever have to concern myself with maxing out the 10,000 unless I really get considerably aggressive. And now that's tracked. Let's see another one. Okay, I'll move on. I don't want to make it too lengthy. I did say brief, but my definition of brief is not brief. These distressed deals, you're not going to see that too much in my farm, thankfully. But well, I guess depends on who your target is. But you can identify the distressed deals. So if you're working with a lot of investors, admittingly, I don't work with too many. I have 2 or 3. No, I have 2. I shouldn't even guess at that. I have 2 investors, and they're more of 3 deals per month. I'm sorry, 3 deals per year. So an investment portfolio is not very high on my percentages. But if you are working with a lot of investors, this is very important, as you can identify the properties that have received a notice of foreclosure, received a notice of trustee, a notice of default. So you can really reach out to your investors and see if this is something that they would be interested in. Or heck, you'd be interested in reaching out to the actual owners and getting their book of business and providing them a solution to where they don't have to go through that foreclosure phase and destroy their credit, destroy their, I don't want to be such an alarmist, but destroy their lives. I guess I kind of am an alarmist. But anyway, so you're going to reach out to these folks and help them. Now, let's see if I can find one here. Again, my farm's not going to have too many of them. Is that one? Oh. Let's apply it. There's some. Let's see. Now let's go back down. Drill down. Too far. I was playing around with the display percentage, and I've really thrown my computer out of whack. It's struggling to keep up with me at this point. See if we can find it. There it is. Now, it was distressed, and then they canceled it. It sounds like somebody's already gotten a hold of them. Possibly, I don't know. I'm just going to track it for the sake of it. Now, you know what? Let me just track all. Oh, there was only 2. Okay. I can create a label here. So, depending on how you filter your searches, you're going to be able to have a saved search, and you can actually track those. For this one, I would put distressed. No, I want to put the location first. So that's the zip code, distressed. That way, when I come back to it, up here, I don't confuse myself. Now, the reason that I went with Pro, well, there's several reasons, but the biggest reason that I went with Pro, it wasn't because it gave me 10,000 potential properties to track. That is super valuable. But that wasn't the primary motivation for me. I think the step below the Pro is like 500 properties tracked, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't necessarily interested in the 10,000 properties tracked. I was more interested in this feature. Oh, no, I missed it. In this feature, contact owners. In the Pro account, not only do you get to track 10,000 properties, which is nice to have, don't mishear me, but you also get their contact information, which is huge. And it wasn't until recently that I moved up to the Pro account. So, although I did include in my Facebook training, in my Facebook training course, I did include a section on Remine and how to use it from a very targeted way in essentially maximizing a return on investment using Remine and certain strategies that I don't necessarily have the time to go into this video about. I think you've gotten enough of it and a gist on how to use it for your purposes. But I'm going to have to reshoot the Remine section because of this information and this information, and the ability to download all of this information and put it into Facebook. So you can have all this information and input it into Facebook and do a custom audience. and really get silly with the amount of marketing that you can do, and very hyper focused. And the lead generation is just going to continue flowing. And that is more for something I hadn't even done. I was more using Remine traditionally from a mailer standpoint. I don't do door knocking, which I wish I had the courage to do. Major props to you door knockers out there. You're doing something that I don't have the stomach for nor the bravery for. Um, if you're door knocking, use this. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you uh, gas money. Gas money. It's going to save you a lot of stuff. So, and increase your bottom line. So it'll make door knocking that much funner for you guys. But for me, it's that is a tough road to hoe. And major props to y'all. I am a fan. I'm a fan of you. But for me, more of an introvert, I am all about the emails, all about the texting, all about this, and all about sending mail where I can, sending text where I can, sending a lot of the behind-the-scene type of marketing, and especially with Facebook. The Facebook capability is now open to me through the CSV download. It's just phenomenal. So I think this is a good stopping point. If you have Remine right now, use it, use it, use it, use it, use it. Give yourself an hour a week and write down a few addresses that have a high self score. Again, you're going to have access to the self score even on the free version. See if I can get back there. On the free version, you're going to have access to the self score. You won't have access to these two right here and several others unless you go to the Pro account. I highly recommend the Pro account. It is a game changer. This information, have access to it. It even lets you, actually this one's on the do not call list, so it even preempts you with that. If somebody is on the do not call list, well, of course, don't call them. But if they're not, free game, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I am all about Remine, and it's only going to continue getting better, even though it's already bombastic. All right, thanks so much.